Once upon a time, in the year 1600, a group of ambitious traders from Britain arrived on Indian shores. They came not with armies, but with ledgers and contracts. These traders were part of the East India Company, granted exclusive trading rights in India by Queen Elizabeth I. For over a century and a half, they focused solely on trade. But in 1765, everything changed. The company acquired Diwani, the right to collect revenue and administer civil justice in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. This moment marked the beginning of their transformation from traders to rulers. Slowly but surely, the East India Company evolved into a territorial power. They built armies, passed laws, and controlled vast lands. However, this era came to a dramatic halt in 1857 with the Sepoy Mutiny, a rebellion that shook the British Empire. In its aftermath, the British Crown took direct control of India in 1858, ending the company's rule. India remained under Crown rule till the day it breathed the air of freedom on the 15th of August 1947. But by then, the seeds of administration, governance, and legal systems had already been sown during the long British rule. Even before independence, in 1946, a constituent assembly was formed to give the nation a constitution of its own. And on the 26th of January 1950, that dream came alive. But the roots of that constitution? They stretch deep into the British era. Let's now travel through the milestones that shaped our political and administrative journey, beginning with the Company Rule. The Company Rule, 1773–1858. It all began with the Regulating Act of 1773. For the first time, the British government decided to control the East India Company's affairs. The Governor of Bengal was given a new title, Governor-General of Bengal, and was assisted by a council of 4. The first to hold this post, Lord Warren Hastings. Bombay and Madras, once independent presidencies, were now made subordinate to Bengal. A Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta in 1774, and company servants were strictly prohibited from accepting bribes or trading privately. But the act had flaws. So in 1781, the Amending Act, also known as the Act of Settlement, was passed. It clarified the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and exempted revenue matters from its control. It also respected the personal laws of Hindus and Muslims while delivering justice. Then came Pitt's India Act in 1784, a major turning point. It separated the commercial and political functions of the company. A board of control was formed to manage political affairs, while the court of directors looked after business. This dual system marked the beginning of centralized British control. In 1786, Lord Cornwallis arrived as Governor-General. He demanded the power to override his council and be the commander-in-chief. The Act of 1786 granted him both. He laid the foundation of civil services and judicial reforms. Next came the Charter Act of 1793. It extended the company's trade monopoly and gave more control to the Governor-General. The Commander-in-Chief was no longer a mandatory member of the council unless specifically appointed. Fast forward to 1813, the monopoly began to fade. The Charter Act of 1813 opened Indian trade to all British merchants, except tea and trade with China. The Act also welcomed Christian missionaries and aimed to promote Western education. By 1833, the British thirst for centralization grew stronger. The Charter Act of 1833 made the Governor-General of India the supreme authority. Legislative powers were taken from Bombay and Madras. The company's commercial functions were dissolved. It became purely administrative. There was even an attempt to introduce open civil service exams, including for Indians, but it failed due to opposition. Finally, the Charter Act of 1853 brought critical reforms. It separated legislative and executive functions, creating a new legislative council. Open competition was introduced for civil services, and Indians were now eligible. For the first time, local representation was added to the legislative process. But all of this led to one truth: by 1857, India had been deeply reshaped by the British. And with the mutiny of that year, a new chapter began: Crown rule. But that is a story for another episode.